right, another week, another Centre Circle podcast. Recording live from the sauna. Episode 130.
131.
131. Just keep on your toes, bro. Just keep on your toes.
You didn't know. It's fine.
Isaac, Key, how you doing? Lads, you alright?
Yeah.
I'm wounded.
Personally,
funny, yeah?
I'm all good.
Yeah?
Football-wise, could be better.
You know what's funny? If you listen to this pod often enough, you can always tell what result Liverpool had by the way you answer that question at the beginning. That's why I do it every week. It's so funny. It's so funny.
Fair enough.
But look, let's start with the theatre of drama. Manchester United, another chapter in a long-running saga. Michael Carrick has entered as interim manager.
Interim for the interim.
Yeah. Second interim. Interim, the second interim plus one.
Yeah.
Until the end of the season. This one caused some infighting within the Man United old boys. I say the old boys. It was Roy Keane versus everyone else, basically. And there's a couple of schools of thought. You know, obviously, Darren Fletcher did a few games. Got his sons a couple of appearances. Now Michael Carrick is in first job since he left Middlesbrough, you know, which the club thought wasn't working well. And he's pulled together what some would say is a nice balanced, experienced team. Steve Holland, obviously, Gareth Southgate's guy from England. He's got Johnny Evans in there, which has been the big point of debate. I'm missing someone. Who else? Jonathan Woodgate, who was his assistant at Middlesbrough.
Yep.
So, guys, where do you stand on this, right? There's the whole, he's a legend, he knows the club, he knows the smell of the place, he knows where the toilets are, and that helps him with the players, versus, no, go out and get someone who's proven this is Man United.
So when you say where do you stand on this, what like the whole Man United DNA point?
Well, no, let's start. Roy Keane's whole point is, you lot are just hiring the old boys. You're not doing what's right for the club, right? Michael Carrick wasn't good enough to keep his job at Middlesbrough. All of a sudden, he's good enough to replace somebody who won their league, who won the Europa Cup, right? What experience has he got? He rings his mate to come in because he's one of the old lads, he knows the club. Johnny Evans has not got any experience. 3 weeks ago, he was the loans manager. So are you making decisions based on rational, football-based experience of what's right for the club? Or are we doing sentimentality, part of the boys, let's all give a job to the boys because they played for Sir Alex Ferguson?
So, for me, I can understand why the Man United hierarchy have done this.
Oh, yeah?
They're looking for an interim, which is fine.
Okay.
Not many people out there would want to take a interim role, in my opinion. So if you go for people connected with the club, you're kind of pulling on the emotional heartstrings a little bit. So someone like Carrick, if you offer him an interim job at Man United, it's very rare that he would say no.
No, of course. From the person who's been called up, you take the job. It's simple as that, right?
It's not like, it's not the first time he's done it. He's done a couple games previously. So he understands, like, the club, etc. My only issue with this is that they could be in a Ole Gunnar Solskjaer situation again, in terms of if he does well, the fans will want to keep him and there'll be pressure to keep him. But how does that play out long term? So that's just what they've got to be careful of.
Isaac, talk to me, bro. I'm relying on you, please. Because United Nations here.
All right, look, let's be honest. They've tried the non-United DNA, right, since Fergie left. They went out on a limb. They tried to get Moyes in. That was an absolute train wreck. And then ever since then, everything else has been a train wreck along the way, right? They went back to Solskjaer. I mean...
Came second, won the FA Cup, won the Europa League.
All right, cool.
He's probably been the most successful manager since Fergie left.
But it didn't work. Otherwise, he'd still be here, right? It's not worked. They for whatever reason you want to put it. Usually they say the second year itch with Jose Mourinho, and everything falls apart. If you want to put it down to that, that's fine. But either way, the point I'm saying is that it hasn't worked. What has worked, or slightly, is bringing in Solskjaer. They had a good run under him. A lot of the players, if you listen to a lot of the players, ex-players, they said that under Solskjaer they felt really free.
Or they're at the wheel.
Obviously that hasn't worked, but now they've brought in Carrick after an abysmal spell with Amorim, and automatically they've they've looked like Man United of old. Now, I don't know which United you want to say. Like, obviously, listening to Rooney, he was saying, "Oh, that's the United, the flying arrows, the counter-attacking football, wingers, blah 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 blah, whatever." But all I know is when I watched that game, they looked like Man United of old, right? It's up to you which United you want to refer to. I believe you do need to have something from that era or from that time where you were winning. You have to have someone in there that knows or has an idea of what it's like to win.
Who did Klopp have? Who did Klopp have?
Who did
When he was winning at Liverpool, that knew what it was like for winning at Liverpool?
But that's neither here nor there. We're not Liverpool. We're not United. We're not United. So for United to get back to winning ways, it seems like they're going to have to bring in someone who understands this United DNA, this United culture. And right now, off of one game, call me, premature, whatever. But off of one game, it looks like he might have figured it out.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Watching that game was bittersweet for me. I love watching teams do their things and play well. Then I remembered, this is Manchester United. I don't want to see them play well.
Exactly.
I don't want to see them come back.
That's exactly how I watched the game.
Continue. I want the misery to extend. But look, I think it's one of these things here. I agree with Roy Keane in the sense that your decision making and what led you to appoint Michael Carrick I think is absolutely shambolic, bruv. Honestly, shambolic. We've been there before. It's like Manchester United is Manchester United, right? 6 months is not a long time in the big scheme of things. So we've done it before. You did the Ole thing. It was good for a while. Then it wasn't. Do you know what I mean? And actually, I think this thing about, well, they've tried this before, they tried that before, the execution of what they tried was poor.
But to that point, with Ole, why didn't it work, though?
In terms of...
Why didn't it work? I think there was a lot of it was to do with the higher-ups and
yeah,
Ole,
I was just about to say.
i.e. Ed Woodward, right?
Yeah, no, I was about to say, I think the problem at Man United is actually a lot of the people who have not been performing are not just on the touchline. So they've been marking their own homework, right? So then we've had this new people coming, Ratcliffe, blah, 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 Iniesta, yada, yada. Again, poor decision-making. Nothing from what they've done at Nice said, these are the guys to bring Man United back to glory. You let them in. We've had the Dan Ashworth debacle. We've had the whole Ten Hag thing, blah, 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 blah. So I get what Roy Keane is saying is that you lot are repeating history, yeah? However, the other side of that is, that doesn't mean that the person you then bring in could then be the person that strikes gold 1 out of 100 times. It's Sod's law now that Michael Carrick, he's got certain ideas. It didn't work out at Middlesbrough, but he might have the tools and the money that allows him to figure that out here. He's failed upwards. Let's call a spade a spade. He's Michael Carrick out of a golden generation that won a lot, that has given him what he needed to fail upwards. It's a bit like the Vincent Kompany conversation. We were like, oh, why did Bayern call him or whatever? But now he's there, he's killing it. So whatever got him in the door, he's taking his chance.
But how has he failed upwards?
Who?
Carrick and company. How have they failed?
He couldn't keep a championship job. He got fired from Middlesbrough. How does that qualify you to now steer a 250, 300 million pound squad back to Champions League and Premier League glory?
But then you could say the same about Vincent Kompany, who couldn't. But let me finish. You could say the same about Vincent Kompany in the sense of he couldn't keep Burnley in the Prem.
Yep.
But he's shown enough for a bigger team to say, no, with the better tools, i.e. better players, you could do a better job. So how's that not the same for Michael Carrick?
I said it's the same thing. I literally just said it's the same thing.
No, but I would say with Carrick, if Man United were in this position, his name would not be in the frame for a Man United job. So let's say Amorim got sacked at the end of the season, they wouldn't have been looking at Carrick.
Why not?
Because other people would, better or more qualified, quote unquote, people would have been available to speak.
Above him. If this wasn't an interim role, Carrick wouldn't be.
Enrique's free in the summer. He gets a phone call. He's not getting a phone call now because he's in a job. Glasner, we will come on to you later.
I understand your point about just because you haven't necessarily excelled at a lower team doesn't mean you're not able to do the job at a higher place team. I understand that. But in this specific situation, I think it's clear that if Carrick was available in the summer and Man United needed a manager in the summer, he wouldn't be first on the... It'd be looking at
that's
another
the problem. And that's the problem. And that right there is the problem. not just for Carrick in his career as a manager, but also for English managers trying to make a name for themselves at bigger clubs, and also Man United and the whole. Just trying to go for the name brand doesn't always work, and it hasn't worked for
Yeah,
United.
but those people didn't become name brands by luck. They earned that name brand.
Okay, but they also got given a chance to become a name brand.
Well, at the
So
small...
I'm saying that how does Carrick then get a chance in the Prem? What does he have to go to?
No, but
a
when he's at
Palace
Middlesbrough,
or,
don't get fired.
Okay,
but
so
bro, that's
But
it.
no, but hold on, Keith. But it's true though. Mourinho made his name at Porto by beating all the big guys
Okay.
at little Porto. Same thing Amorim's done. Glasner won the Europa League, as I was reminded today, one of my football groups. Won the Europa League, went to Wolfsburg, got them in the Champions League, has come to Palace, won an FA Cup. That's how you build your name.
Okay, but you can also be in a club at a club, show signs. Okay, this manager has a clear philosophy, a clear understanding,
Yeah.
and he's clearly portrayed a style of football that we would like to see at our club. So let's go and give him a chance.
Yeah, that's fine. You can do that, and it's your prerogative. But then you have to take the criticism when it's clear, where people have both the style and the substance to back up that actually they are better managers than him today. That you take a chance, you appoint Michael Carrick, you get the criticism, and he may do well. That's why I said it's two separate things. One, your decision to appoint him and the rationale to use that, I think is a shambles personally. But now he's in the job, boy, he might become the coach that they're hoping he is, or he might validate the fact that maybe he needs a few more jobs. That's what all those clubs did with Rooney. He's Rooney. Maybe he just needs one more chance with my club. Maybe he just needs one more chance
And I
with my
think
club.
even if you're ranking the English managers at the minute, Michael Carrick is not in the top 5 or 10, is he, of English managers? So
So I
yeah,
honestly,
it's circumstance. You got the job by
yeah,
circumstance.
I
in my
honestly
opinion.
get Roy Keys' point, and I hate to say it, but I think he's right. But anyway, your first game against City at Old Trafford. Well,
Not a bad way to start.
treat them like they're relegation fodder. You know, City started with a back four that wasn't very experienced. A lot of them hadn't started this season, etc. But to Isaac's point, the way they played, Bruno playing in quote unquote his preferred position, Kobe Mainoo back in the lineup, he would have given them that impetus, that drive. So it was a great win. My thing is now, listen, next week Arsenal. It's not even Arsenal. They always shot for Arsenal. It could be the worst Man United team. It's a bit like Liverpool anywhere else. You got your rivals. Everyone shows up. When they play Leeds, when they play Burnley, all of that, that's when we need to see the Carrick effect. So good luck to him. But I hear was, that Man United alumni, strong boy. Yo, it's like going to Oxford, isn't it? Cool, blimey. Strong stuff. Anyway, talking about managerial moves, Crystal Palace. You see Glasner. Glasner's talking like a rapper that wants to have a record deal. That's how Glasner's moving,
This is a mad situation,
bro. And what have I been saying recently about managers talking out of turn?
Yeah.
But for some reason, managers get a blight. Managers and players get a blight. It's always the owners that are evil. But you still got a job. You still got a boss. Now, for those of you that don't know, Glasner came out in a week and announced that he would be leaving at the end of the season. Managers announcing they're leaving 4 months before they leave is a whole nother conversation about the team and what that does. He then announced that if the price is right, Mateta can leave. And then, after losing to Sunderland, then told everybody that him and the players feel like they've been abandoned.
How do you feel about that in terms of like players, managers? Because it's also come out that he didn't notify the board about his decision to leave, or his decision to announce that he's leaving.
Yeah, he didn't tell them. He said, I told Steve Parish in October, so it's not a surprise. That's not the point, bro. Tell us that you're going to tell everybody else.
Exactly.
Go on, Keith. United Nations Assembly.
Nah, it's not even a United Nations. It's just sad to see this potential Crystal Palace dynasty crumbling before it's got a chance to.
Dino what?
No, so you look at Glasner coming in. He took over when they weren't doing too well, so I don't think the expectations on him were
He was
sky
straight
high.
after Vieira, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
That's it, yeah.
Came in with quite a reputation, as you said. And if we sit here today now, he's won them their first ever trophy, got them into Europe.
Yep.
So you think, right, Crystal Palace are on the up and up. But he hasn't had backing from the board for someone
They spent 100 million in the summer.
for someone who has delivered what he's delivered on a shoestring. I still think he should have been back more to build a squad. Just because you spend money doesn't mean it's identified all the areas that you need to address.
So I love when people say this. How much more should they have spent? People just say more. How much more?
Whatever
50 million more? 100 more?
whatever needed. It could be 40 million on 2 extra players. It doesn't have to be like a wild number.
Plus the wages and everything
free
else.
transfers, etc. Yeah, I know. Running a club,
Yeah.
you can't be frivolous. I understand that. But for what he's done and taken Crystal Palace to, I don't think he's been supported enough.
But there's always this assumption that they could have supported him more. Like, they don't have constraints. That's the bit I don't understand. Like, this is Crystal Palace, you know. Is their stadium even 40,000 people? Their entire revenue for 1 year is 200 million. Or, they said the highest is going to be 200 million, lowest 130. Arsenal do that in match day revenue alone a season, if not
That's
more.
granted, but remember, the support doesn't always have to be what you bring in, it's what you keep as well. So,
Okay.
if you look at...
But that's part of their support system, though.
No, that's granted, but you still got to think, right, we sell Eze 3 games into the season, we got 60-odd million for that. That's fine. You were going to sell Mark Gahey 4 games into the season. That would have been 35 at the time.
Yep.
So you said they spent 100 million, they would have recouped 100 million. So effectively, you're like for like, but with 2 players down.
But again, it's not that simple. You know, every pound you get for transfers doesn't get to go out on transfers. I don't know. I just feel like we do a lot of simple accounting as fans. You went to Crystal Palace. You knew what club you were going to.
Right.
Right? It's a club that has stayed in the Premiership for 13 years in a row. How many other clubs have done that? They sold players, bought in players. You knew where you were going, right? So I'm not saying that they couldn't have done more, right? But at the same time, they're missing middle ground. If I'm Steve Parish, remember, they haven't got a Kroenke family. They haven't got a FSG. They don't have, sovereign wealth. They've got Steve Parish and a couple of other fairly normal investors. Where is this money coming from? Everyone can chat when it's not their money on the line. I don't get it.
Look, I understand. I understand striking while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
You hit a lick. You won the FA Cup, but Palace are a club. Essentially, they're a selling club, right? They're not a club who are able to maintain big names, right? So if they go on a run and a certain player hits a run of form and his price tag goes up and his name starts getting bandied about, they're a club that has to sell. They have to sell, i.e. they sold Eze. They were going to sell Gahey, but Glasner tried to hold them hostage with the contract.
Rightly so.
And they chose not to sell. But part of that is also on Liverpool, but that's another story for another day. They chose not to sell, and then Glasner refused to sign the contract. So now, as the owner of the club, if you're Parish, you're in a situation where I could have got 35 mil for Gahey in the summer. Now I'm having to sell him for 20. A club like Palace, that 15 million makes a difference. That's a player. That's wages of another player.
And you're doing all this chatting. As soon as any club knocks on the door, you're off anyway. So you're doing all this chatting in the summer, man. Like, anyhow, Liverpool fire their manager or anyone half decent, you're going to leave me in the lurch anyway. I'll get 4 or 5 million for you, and I'm left here holding the bag. I don't think you can blame the board. That's why certain players and managers, they're going to go, big man, see you later. The club has to carry on after you. And if he had signed some big, long 3 or 4 year contract, that's different. Maybe Steve Parish could then commit a bit more. I've got 20, if the club come and gets me. How much? What did Man United paid 20 million for Amorim or something like that? Or one of the managers, there was a big transfer fee. I can do all that stuff fine. But you didn't. And then you're still yapping every week. Bruv, I beg, please. Please. And then now the question is, after this latest outburst, should they let him go? My view is, I think yes. You're an employee like anyone else. You're telling the fans, what environment are you creating for the players where we've been abandoned, etc. Yes, that's extra expensive at the end of the season, but what environment does it create now? It could be the best siege mentality ever, and he propels them up the lead, or people just start packing it in. Manager said he's leaving anyway, right? We're not getting any more players. Forget it. I'm telling my agent, if I'm Mateta or one of the jewels, get me out of here, bro. Let me even play Champions League for this 3 or 4 months and get in the France squad before World Cup. I don't think it's responsible from him. as one of the leaders of the club. I don't think it's responsible at all. What good comes out of making those statements after that game?
Yeah.
What good comes out of it? Just because you know you're cool, you know your phone's ringing at the end of the season. You know slot goes, Liverpool might have a ring. You're not front runner, but you're there. West Ham, all these clubs.
To me, it boils out
selfish, bro. It's selfish.
Of frustration. I think he's obviously been promised certain things and they haven't come to the fore. That can be the only explanation, because he's been quite calm during his time there.
Calm for him.
Even with the whole Gahey saga in the summer, there was the rumours that he said he would walk if Gahey was sold, etc. Didn't come out and speak anything about it. I think he could have, because, you know what I mean, it's quite a big thing within the club, you know what I mean, selling your club captain with hours for the transfer window to close. And I think now he's just frustrated. Like I say, he's got Palace into a really good situation. It seems like they're just not matching his ambition. I know you say there are constraints, but if you feel you can take a club to a certain level and you're being hamstrung, you're going to be like, well, what's the point?
And this is where I don't agree with that. And this is where I don't agree with that, because look, and not to hark on points we've already made, but you should know where you're at. And you should know, right, if certain things have been promised, or certain things, you've got certain ambitions, and the club or the board are not showing signs that they're willing to match your ambitions, then just say, do you know what? Fine, thank you, I'm out.
That's what you've done, though.
But the way you do it is important.
Exactly. You don't need to come out no, bro. You don't need to come out in public and be making all this noise.
You know
just
what?
leave.
And you know another reason. You know why I feel sorry for the board as well. Remember, they were supposed to be going in the Europa League. Then all that madness with Forest happened, and now they end up in Europa Conference.
But that's a massive
money change.
That was their own fault with their
current owner. I get that, but it's happened. Oh yeah, the email. That's incompetence. Yeah, it's incompetence.
But yeah, we've said that we enjoy the whole American sports industry where they're very open about how they talk about things, and everyone's in the clear. In the last month, that's happened 3 times. And everyone's like clutching their pearls at like, oh, why is everyone saying this?
No.
I think if you've had the conversation with the board, I don't see there should be no problem saying it to the press.
Bro, don't misunderstand me. I'm not clutching my pearls. I'm just saying, if you want to talk a certain way, accept the consequences. I'm more talking about the people talking after, saying, oh, it's not fair. You should be able to say, no, bro, you're in a job. You have employers. You have employers. There's rules. So yeah, say what you want to say, but take the consequences. That's like free speech. I can say what I say. All right, cool. Well, you end up in prison for whatever you said. Hold it. So let's see. Glasner will get a decent job. He'll get a bigger club. But I do think there needs to be a balance. All of these managers who, granted, he's won competition, etc. But back in the day, I just felt like managers had accomplished way more before they started moving like this and talking like this, in my opinion, right? But I didn't hear Jose giving it out until he lifted that cup. I didn't hear all of that. So as much as Amorim was doing whatever, he's done bits. I want a league unbeaten and whatever. So anyway, let's see. 3 managers were talking the hardest. They're now looking for roles. That's all I'm saying. Well, Glasner's not been fired, and Steve Parish often does the opposite. So he might keep him. He might be like, make your noise and squeal. You're working to the end of the year. He might do that. We'll see. I guess another thing to kind of touch on is City. City have been quietly spending.
Have they been quiet?
Well, I just feel like in the past, when they've spent as much as this, there was a lot more talk about how much they were spending, but now it's just accepted.
I don't think it's
January
accepted.
and this January and summer, bro.
I don't think it's accepted. I think there's less talk, or there's less highlighting because
everyone else is spending.
No, because we're still waiting for the results of the charges, the 115 charges.
There was an article in the Independent the other day that it's going to be another year. You know.
Exactly. Nothing's come out. So what's the point in what's the point in keep pointing the finger at City if nothing gets done about it, or we're still waiting the results of these pending charges? So just get on with it.
I mean, to be fair, factually fair, last season obviously that's the same kind of FY where they sold Alvarez 70 million or 8 million, whatever it was, and all of this kind of stuff. But you've added Semenyo. Apparently Gay's on his way.
But they've since last January,
yes, January, 500 million.
Full 11 of signings.
Boy.
If Gay arrives, it's a full 11.
But their net spend is the lowest of the big 6.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
So,
Arsenal's must be pretty high. So as an Arsenal fan, I'm not going to sit here and say anything. And I was coming there to say, look, is this now Are these the additions that help put the bits back in the jigsaw? The Michael Carrick said, nah. So what is the fundamental issue there? And are you not buying the wrong pieces? Yes. Did you need another Semenyo actually? Should you have been buying another defender to come along with Mark Gay?
I think the Semenyo signing was greed. Because I genuinely don't think they needed him. They've still got Savinho, they've still got Mamouche.
But none of those are firing, bro.
It doesn't, regardless of whether they're firing or not. That's down to you as a coach to then get them firing. If your go-to is to just say, well, I can't do nothing with him, or I've tried, I'm just gonna go sign another striker. I mean, another attacker. But your whole backline is struggling.
It's crazy.
And we don't know. Like Gahey's, all right. It's more on than not, but it's still.
No. Let's not do that.
No, but I'm saying the signing.
I thought you meant about his talent.
No. Relax. I'm saying is the signing's not confirmed yet.
Right. I agree.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you? But you've already gone out into the market and prioritised an attacker.
And Liverpool fan made a good point the other day because there was a couple of Liverpool fans in one of my WhatsApp groups having a meltdown. I was City, and he was like, "Hold on, there's other good defenders in Europe who will probably be cheaper, who are going to be free agents in the summer." So then my mind immediately went, "City, go and buy one of them as well," because let's be honest, John Stones, they might give him an extension, but it's probably time. Allow him.
Yeah.
Nathan Ake is not any younger. He must be in his 30s now.
They were trying to pawn him off.
Anyway.
They were trying to pawn him off as part of the deal, wasn't it?
There's that one. Akanji, that wasn't a loan, was it? He went.
I think that's perm.
That's perm.
Krishanov is not good enough right now.
I can see the whatever.
Right now.
So you buying 2 centre backs in this window would not have been mental. That would actually have made sense to me.
Yeah.
But yeah. So your point about greed, fair enough. Yeah, there's an argument.
They didn't
there.
need Semenyo.
But that front three was not going in, and he's running Bernardo Silva into the ground, bruv. Every time I see Bernardo Silva, it looks like he's aged another year. He's aging a year a week. So
Do the signings firm up their chances of winning the title?
No.
If they, Gahey will firm up the back line a little bit, like playing Elaine and Krishanov as your centre backs in any Premier League game, let alone the derby, it's going to cause you problems. Gahey will solve that one of those issues if and when he comes, but the back line.
And Diaz will come back, right?
Yeah, but again, Diaz is.
Nah, on his days, he's proper.
He's not having many good days, to be honest. I think their back line is so fragile that, again, I think they should have done more. And so in answer to your question, spend as much as you want. If you're not spending it in the right areas, it's not going to do much.
Yeah, we see that with Real Madrid, ain't we? So yeah.
We see that with Liverpool.
Ooh. I still think...
We see that with Liverpool.
I still think those signings are going to blossom later.
But talking of winning the title...
Yes.
If you lot don't think these signings will push City towards the title, do you think Arsenal's inability to maintain their run will aid City?
I think it'll be two things. I think weak mentality will aid City from Arsenal's point of view. But also, whilst it might not be these signings that help City claw it back, what will help them claw it back is the experience they've got there. Those games where the defence will matter because they're going to score 4 or whatever, depending on how Haaland's injury holds up. So I do think that whilst those signings won't do it, there's just some City factors that might still, do you know what I mean? That will still get them to where they need to be. But I just think the mental side of winning a league is not where it needs to be for you to be sure in January that Arsenal are going to take this 7-point lead and run it home. You just see it in certain games, do you know what I mean? Whereas other teams in the past, 7-point lead at this time, we're packing up, bruv. We're packing up. But they don't give me, as an Arsenal fan, they don't give me that confidence. I think some of Arteta's decision-making doesn't give me that confidence. He's still too cautious at times. We defend to win games rather than attacking to win games, it feels at times. So I think that would be it. I think that mental side plus City know how to, when it clicks, it clicks. They might win the game 4-3, but they're winning, you know?
Do you think this challenging on all 4 fronts is going to affect Arsenal?
Yeah. I'm glad the Carabao Cup's over in February, to be honest.
March now, the finals in March.
Don't get me wrong. if they win a Carabao Cup, that helps a lot of those lot understand what that feels like, looks like. You know, I think it was Saka even. Yeah, only Saka and one or two other men were here for the FA Cup win before. Rice has done it, right? You might say it's only European Conference, but it's a European competition. He went all around, did the graft, and won something. So that will help. But yeah, I think you get to March, bro. You need to prioritize. I want to see 1 year in them not starting in certain. But again, should he have to? Look how much money we spent. Look at our bench. You shouldn't have to.
But it doesn't matter if you don't utilize the players.
No,
right?
exactly.
And
That's my point. That goes to my hand, about him. Yeah, I agree.
And my gripe with Arteta and Arsenal as a whole is, number one, the experience thing, but number two, it's the inability to just put trust into your squad. And the reason why it gripes me is because Arteta has pretty much, since Edu left, it's become his domain, right? It's his squad. He's his
the manager.
He is now the manager. He's not the head coach. He is the manager. So if you then don't trust these players that you've essentially assembled or taken, put your neck on the line and said, right, this is my squad. This is who you've built your squad with. Then the buck can only fall at your foot when it doesn't materialize.
Yeah,
right?
I would agree. And you see games, you watch performances, and like make a change. Especially, don't get me wrong, I have to hold my hands up. He's got better. There were the days, 78th minute, he's not making it. Now, 57th minute, 3 subs are coming on, 4 subs are coming on, which is another conversation for us to have later, because I think this 5-sub thing, the big clubs, is too good for them. But yeah, I'm with you. And time will tell, but my prediction today now is that it gets really tight unnecessarily in April because of this period here where we didn't punch through and get those 9-point leads, 10-point leads, 11-point leads. I think when we get to April, we're going to regret these draws. That's my prediction. And it's now going to become, do you remember how it was, I think 22, 23, I think it was, where it was like 2 points. So every week, whoever didn't win was second. Yeah, it's going to be like that again. And them lot, they don't have the mentality for that. So, well, evidence says they don't yet. Right? So yeah. Speaking of managers and what they're doing and what they're not doing, Thomas Frank. I mean, you're not helping me out here, man. I backed you August. I was saying, yeah, he's done this at Brentford with unknown players, blah, blah, blah. You get to Spurs and you're moving mad. I don't get it.
Your level. Sometimes, what's the saying? You'll always find your level. Right? And I don't think a top 6 seems to be Thomas Frank's level. It might just be Spurs. It might be maybe he could have done well at Chelsea. But the evidence seems to suggest that he's not capable of steering a team with higher expectations or a team with better players.
Can we frame some bell with the recruitment?
Forward.
I don't think the recruitment's been the best. I think they've bought a lot of medium players.
It's like who?
Tells.
Okay.
Kolomowani.
Yeah.
Who's the guy from, was he from Burnley? He scored the other day. Right corner. Yep.
Oh, he was there pre-Frank. But
Yeah, so was Kolomowani.
But can I shoot us a bell on something else in terms of the majority of the goals that were scored last season for Tottenham, he hasn't had available to him this
Solanke's
season.
just come back.
So Solanke scored majority of the goals last season.
Maddison.
Kulusevski hasn't kicked a ball this season.
Yeah.
Maddison hasn't kicked a ball this season. And there was someone else. Oh, Richarlison's been kind of in and out. He hasn't had but in terms of who are their top goal scorers for last season.
I'm laughing because Richarlison will score from the halfway line and then do nothing else for 3 months. That's what kills me about him.
Yeah, so a lot of goals have been taken away from him, and it's like, how do you replace that with what you've been handed now? And I think that's a lot of their problem in terms of where the goals coming from. Defensively, they haven't been great, but Kudus has come in, hasn't really hit the ground running.
Yeah, he's not stepped
I think
up.
he's only scored like 3 Premier League goals or something like that. So he's come in at a difficult time, and it's Tottenham, innit?
I can't agree with that because look, Keith Andrews doing well at Brentford also hurts Frank's reputation even more.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. It does.
Right? Because if Keith Andrews wasn't doing well, and stay with me, if Keith Andrews wasn't doing well, you could argue that, all right, cool, it's more so just the players and the setup and the board and the environment at Spurs. But Keith Andrews has come in and done well. So clearly it might not have been Frank's handprint, his footprint on that club. They were just set up to do well, and Frank was just the captain of the ship. It was on autopilot, right? He's gone to Tottenham. His style is just dire. They don't attack well. How are West Ham coming to your stadium and outplaying you? West Ham, who are struggling, they don't have their star player, i.e. Paqueta is not on the pitch. They're relying on a striker who, if we're being honest, he's on a pay to play. Like he's not. No, it sounds
right.
bad,
No,
but
it's facts.
these are facts.
It's facts.
They're relying on a striker who's on a pay to
Who's
play.
that, Wilson?
Yeah,
And this is a striker that we were hearing reports they were negotiating for his exit.
exactly. And they've come to your stadium and comfortably taken a 2-1 win. It's not looking good.
Yeah, I agree with Isaac. I think with all that said, even just the baseline you've set is not good enough.
Not great.
Like, he kind of started off pretty well actually. They were hovering around the top 4. They looked relatively hard to beat, etc. But yeah, he's not doing the best with what he's been left. So if you're on board, you take all that into consideration, but then you have to ask yourself and say, would someone else do better with these guys? Would someone leverage Xavi Simons better? Would someone leverage even Kolo Muani? There's a lot of names on there, So I'm not saying without the 3 basically most creative and really effective attacking players in that club out, he should still be doing better than he's doing now.
They're not. It's not individually. They're not a terrible squad. I'll be very honest with you. They're not.
I mean,
there are some good players in there, so
14th.
he should be doing a lot better.
Lost 9 games, won 7, drawn 6. Like, it's just mental. Conceded 29 goals. I don't think it's good enough. So it's one of these things. Yeah, he's the kind of manager where when people say someone needs time, I do get it. But if he doesn't get it, I don't think he can complain either. I don't think he makes it to the end of the season if things carry on the way they are. Personally.
Yeah, he need a massive upturn for him to see out the season, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah, they got Dortmund next and then Well, if they don't beat Burnley next week.
And that's another thing as well. With all those injuries, I am in the Champions League. I am fighting and having a different competition. So that does make the management of the squad harder. Yes, but yeah, it's too much, man. At least be hard to beat. Even if you're a boring 1-0 every week team, you're there's something there we can see.
Fans don't want that. Fans want to be entertained every week.
No, they do. But at least if you're the board, you can say, okay, at least you've done that. So when Solanke and all these lot come back, cool. Them lot coming back is not going to stop you lot conceding like idiots. It's not going to. It just means you might be able to draw more games or outscore. So yeah. But again, Spurs upstairs. It can't always be the manager. This is the 3rd manager in a row now. You could argue they took some action. Levy's gone. Director of football's going back to Fiorentina, I believe. But you can't just generationally be bad and it's always the managers. Something else has to change. New shiny training ground and all that. Anyway, I'm not going to sit here and shed a tear for Spurs. Long may it continue. Long may it continue. All right. That's it this week. Let's see how the Carrick experiment carries on. Let's see if they can raise the game against Arsenal next week. We'll also see if the Man United alumni boys back their new manager going forward. All right, boys. I think that's it.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.